The letter arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under my door like a thief in the night. Notice of violation, unauthorized driveway usage. It screamed in bold, red ink, signed by the Willow Creek HOA. Problem was, I'd lived in this quiet corner of Willow Creek for a decade, and there was no HOA, never had been. I'm Sarah Nguyen, a single mom and high school history teacher who moved to this sleepy Oregon suburb to give my daughter, Lynn, a shot at a peaceful life. Our home, a modest two-bedroom with a sagging porch, sits on a corner lot where my driveway, technically a state-owned easement, connects to the main road. It's never been an issue. Neighbors park there during barbecues, kids ride bikes, and delivery trucks make U-turns. So when I read that notice claiming I owed $500 for improper use of my own driveway, I laughed. Then I got mad. The so-called Willow Creek HOA had been a rumor for months. Flyers started appearing in mailboxes, announcing new community standards and mandatory inspections. Nobody knew who was behind it. My neighbor, Tom, a retired mechanic with a beard like a Viking, called it a scam from day one. "Ain't no HOA here." "Sarah," he'd grumble, tossing the flyers in his fire pit. But the notices kept coming, each more absurd than the last fines for unmowed lawns. Warnings about unapproved mailbox colors, even a citation for a kid's lemonade stand. It was like someone was playing dictator with a typewriter. I ignored the first notice, figuring it was a prank. Then came the second, taped to my car windshield. "Final warning, cease use of easement or face legal action." That's when I noticed the cones bright orange. Ugly things, lined up across my driveway like they owned the place. Lynn, my 14-year-old, snapped a photo and posted it on X with the caption, "Who's messing with our driveway?" By morning, her post had 200 likes and a dozen comments from neighbors, all fuming about similar notices. The conflict kicked off when I decided to fight back. I called the county clerk's office and confirmed what I'd always known: my driveway was a public easement, maintained by the state, not some wannabe HOA. Armed with this, I tore down the cones and tossed them into my garage. That's when the HOA cops showed up. They rolled up in a shiny black SUV, 3 of them, wearing matching Navy uniforms with HOA stitched in garish yellow. The leader, a guy with a buzz cut and a clipboard, introduced himself as Officer Bradley, Willow Creek HOA enforcement. He had the kind of smirk that made you want to punch a wall. "Ma'am, you're in violation of Section 3.2 of the HOA Charter," he said, handing me a citation. "This easement is under our jurisdiction." "Jurisdiction," I snapped. "This is state property. You're not cops, and there's no HOA here." My voice was louder than I meant, and Tom, who'd been watching from his porch, wandered over, arms crossed. A few other neighbors joined, phones out, filming. Bradley didn't flinch. "You'll comply, or we'll escalate," he said, his buddies nodding like trained dogs. The absurdity hit its peak when Bradley claimed they'd tow my car if I didn't pay the fine by noon the next day. Tow my car from my own driveway. I was livid. But what got me was Lynn's face. She looked scared, like her home wasn't hers anymore. That's when I knew this wasn't just about me. This was about all of us in Willow Creek, bullied by a fake authority nobody asked for. The tension simmered for days. More neighbors got notices. Mrs. Carter, a 70-year-old widow, was fined for her garden gnomes. The Garcias got hit for parking their RV in their own yard. The X thread, Lynn started, exploded, with hundreds of comments calling out the HOA cops as frauds. Someone dug up a record showing the Willow Creek HOA wasn't registered with the state. Another neighbor, a lawyer named Priya, found that Officer Bradley was actually Bradley Kessler, a failed real estate agent with a history of shady business ventures. Then came the twist. Mrs. Carter, of all people, dropped a bombshell. She'd been digging through old neighborhood records and found a connection. Bradley's uncle owned a property management company that had been buying up foreclosed homes in Willow Creek. The fake HOA was a scheme to scare residents into compliance, maybe even force sales to their company. It was like something out of a bad crime novel, but the evidence was real emails, contracts, even a leaked memo outlining community takeover strategies. The climax hit on a crisp Saturday evening, the kind where the air smells like pine and the sky burns orange. I organized a neighborhood meeting at my place, expecting maybe a dozen people. 50 showed up, spilling onto my lawn, furious and ready to act. Tom brought his fire pit. Priya brought printouts of the evidence. Lynn, bless her, made a sign on an old plank, HOA scam exposed. We were mid-discussion when Bradley and his goons pulled up, this time with a tow truck. Ms. Nguyen, step aside, Bradley barked, pointing at my beat-up Honda. This vehicle is being impounded for non-compliance. The crowd erupted, shouting, phones recording. I stepped forward, holding the county clerk's letter like a shield. This is a state easement, I said, voice shaking but firm. You have no authority here. That's when the state trooper arrived. Someone nobody knows who had called the cops. Trooper Daniels, a no-nonsense guy with a buzz cut of his own, stepped out of his patrol car, lights flashing. He took one look at Bradley's fake badge and laughed. You're impersonating an officer, pal. That's a felony. The crowd cheered, and Bradley's smirk vanished. His buddies looked like they wanted to bolt. The fallout was swift. Bradley and his crew were arrested for fraud and impersonation. The X thread went viral, racking up thousands of shares and comments like, "This is why you don't mess with small towns and karma's a real one." Local news picked it up, and suddenly Willow Creek was the poster child for fighting back against scams. The county launched an investigation into Bradley's uncle's company, and last I heard, they were facing lawsuits from half the neighborhood. But the real change was us. Willow Creek wasn't just a bunch of houses anymore, it was a community. We started a real neighborhood watch, not to bully anyone, but to look out for each other. Lynn's sign still stands in my yard, a reminder of what we can do when we stand together. Bradley thought he could push us around, but he didn't know who he was dealing with. Karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down.